Hi friends, in this video we are going to see the most important part of Indian Constitution, that is fundamental rights. So fundamental rights are incorporated from Article 12 to 35 in the third part of Indian Constitution. What is a right? That's what we have to see first. A reasonable claim as recognized by society and guaranteed and protected by law. This is what right. And there are different types of rights, generally natural rights, political rights, human rights, fundamental rights, constitution, and legal rights. So here we are going to see the fundamental rights. Fundamental rights in Indian Constitution have a more weightage. If you don't want to change anything, that is, if it is not easily amendable, that means the basic structure of the fundamental rights cannot be changed. So anything you want to give to the people of India, that will put into fundamental rights. That is, it cannot be easily amended. That is like right to education. Right to education is put into article number 21A, so that it cannot be denied by the government. First of all, the government cannot deny the right to education. So that was put in article 21A. Like the same way, the mere existence of democracy cannot be imagined without fundamental rights in India, because rights are the pillars of the democracy. So here we are going to see these rights in detail. So first of all, we will, before we see the fundamental rights, there are two articles. That is, before we study about fundamental rights, there are two articles that also comes under the fundamental rights. It deals with the fundamental rights, but it does not describe any rights in this articles. It describes what is a state. Article number 12, it describes that, defines that what is the state, because in the fundamental rights, that is from 14 to 32, these are the articles going to deal with fundamental rights. In these articles, you will come across the term state. State means what? That's what described in this article 12. That is, state means it is the central government, state government, local bodies, and other authorities. Everything comes under the union as well as in the territory of India. That is what state defines. Next, article 13. So whatever the amendments which are made in this fundamental rights, or whatever the law or ordinance which are passed in the legislative of state or central government or in the territory, that will comes under the judicial review. That means the Supreme Court will review that particular amendment or the law which is enforced by the central or state government, that should not affect the basic structure of fundamental rights. So article 13 is describes that the judicial review of any amendment or any new law which is passed in the parliament or in state legislative assembly. So here we will see, here comes fundamental rights. Originally there are 7 fundamental rights. That's all. First one is right to equality. Article 14 to 18 deals with it. Next, right to freedom, articles 19 to 22. Then right against exploitation, that is article 23 to 24. Then right to freedom of religion, that is article 25 to 28. Then article, that is cultural and educational rights, that is article 29 to 30. Then right to property, that is article 31. Then right to constitutional remedies, that is article 32. Out of these 7 fundamental rights, one of the fundamental rights not exists nowadays, that is the 6th one, that is right to property. So in this right to property, This was now just not legal rights, it's not fundamental rights. As I told you already, if anything it just comes under this fundamental rights, that cannot be easily amended, that has to be given to the citizen of India. They can enjoy that right, but a right to property was taken from this fundamental rights. It was put into just a legal right in the article 300A, that is part 12 of the constitution. So now there is only 6 fundamental rights, because in the older days the people are not ready to give their land, or they are not ready to give this property for the government plans, something like nowadays. You can see that so many roads are built, and so many new factories are built in the lands, and new plants are made. So for that we need the lands of the farmer or lands of the individuals. If this was the case, if right to property was in the fundamental right of the people, then they cannot easily take the land of the people. The government cannot take for the benefit of the larger community. It is the property of the individual, but it is going to be used for the larger people, larger benefits. But if it is the property is comes under the right and the fundamental rights, the government cannot easily take the property from the individuals. So that's why in the Indira Gandhi government time, she has did this amendment act, that is 44th amendment act. She taken this right to property out of fundamental rights, and it is put in the just a legal right. They can go to the court, they can fight with the government, but it is not necessary it has to be given to the individual. That is the thing. So it is now in the 300E in part 12. I said just legal rights. So now we are going to discuss in detail about the remaining 6 fundamental rights one by one. Before we go for that, we have to know what is our fundamental rights, why it is called as fundamental rights. Because it is the right, it's the basis for the development of the individual. That is why it is called fundamental rights. So the people of India and officials of India are out to enjoy these rights. What are the nature of these rights? So the fundamental rights are equal for all. That is the thing. These rights are justiciable. That is the important thing. These rights are justiciable. That means that they can go to court and they can get the justice for the fundamental rights. That for that the article 32 is used. That is right to constitutional remedies. Next, fundamental rights are not absolute. That is, there are some limitations. They cannot simply enjoy these fundamental rights. There are some limitations. Next, they limit the authority of the central and state governments, because basically the fundamental rights has to be ensured by the state and central government for the citizens. So actually it is the responsibility of the central and state government to provide the fundamental rights, and they cannot act against the fundamental rights of the people. That is why it is giving some restrictions to the central and state governments. Generally the government don't like the fundamental rights. That is the case, because the people will always fight against the government and they will demand the fundamental rights. So generally the authorities or government will not like the fundamental rights, but anyhow it is in the constitution. They have to ensure that the people getting the fundamental rights. So fundamental rights actually distinguish between citizen and foreign nationals, but they can be suspended during emergency time. And one more important thing, as I told you, Parliament can amend fundamental rights. That is important thing. Parliament can amend, but the basic structure of the fundamental rights should not be changed. That should be ensured by the Supreme Court by judicial review. Next, first, right to equality. Right to equality. So what are the right to equality? right deals with. First one is that Article 14, it provides the state shall not deny any person equality before law or equal protection of law within the territory of India. That means equality before law and equal protection of law. That's what the Article 14 deals with it. The thing is that it is one side is equality before law, equal protection of the law. It is one side, the positive side. All are equal in front of law, but it has some limitations. It has some limitations. This article or this right has some limitations because not all are equal before law. The chief minister, prime minister, that is supreme people, that is president, vice president, then MPs, MLAs, they have some immunity. That means the law cannot be against them. You cannot arrest or issue arrest warrants against a president. You cannot do it. Even though he did some mistake, he did involved in some corruptions or illegal activities, but you cannot issue a warrant against the president unless he is resigned from the particular post, and you cannot dismiss him also easily. You have to bring some notion against him in the parliament, then it has to be passed, then only you can make him to suspend, or you can say make him to resign. After the resignation only the law can be made against him. That is, he is not just equal as the simple normal persons, normal citizens. That's why I'm saying these laws not absolute. They are, all the laws have some restrictions, but the governor can be dismissed immediately because his tenure is not a fixed one. Like the president, the 5 years he has to, the 5 years, like a governor don't have a fixed tenure, so he can be dismissed. But when the person is in the particular what you can say position, the law cannot be passed against him. But in the case of governor case, civil laws can be passed against him, but criminal laws cannot be passed against him. And one more thing, MPs, when before the parliament session 40 days and after the parliament session 40 days, you cannot arrest or issue a warrant against a MP, because before the parliament session he has to prepare for what he is going to speak in the parliament. So you should not disturb an MP because he is a representative of the people. If you arrest him, the people will lose the benefits, so there will not be any representative for the particular people in the parliament. Like the same way, after the parliament session also, you cannot arrest him for the next 40 days because he has to execute what is what is decided in the parliaments, or he has to convey the things to the people of his particular region. So before and after the parliament session you cannot arrest a MP or issue a warrant against a MP. This is kind of the immunities these people having. So we cannot simply say equal, all the people are equal before law. They all have some immunity. That is what these are some restrictions every laws, every article having. Next, Article 15, presumption of discrimination. So you cannot discriminate any people in a state will not discriminate under the 5 criteria, that is race, religion, caste, sex, place of birth. Next, Article 16, equality of opportunity. That is equality of opportunity. That means in state or central employments, public employment, thus it cannot discriminate any people, any citizen under 7 criteria, that is race, religion, caste, sex, place of birth, descent and resident. Next, But in this case you can see that in everyone knows this, uh, people under religion they have some quotas, under the caste they have some quotas, and under sex women's they have some privileges, under place of birth something like Jammu Kashmir, these people have some what you can say, some quotas. So one side it is saying all are equal, there is no discrimination, but these are some positive things. We are not neglecting some people under the we are giving some additional advantage, we are not discriminating them, we are giving some additional advantage for those people, or in the society they are not still developed, they are underdeveloped people, so we are giving some advantages. This is not, we cannot say this discrimination, but not equal in opportunity, that is the thing. So positive side you can say that equality in opportunity, they will, the state will not discriminate anyone under these 5 criteria, but still they are not discriminating, but they are not equal, all are not equal, that is the thing we have to understand. Then next one is abolition of untouchability. This is very important article because this article is absolute article. Till now I told these are fundamental rights not absolute, that is there are some limitation, but particular this article 17 is completely absolute. If any person is discriminating, or you can say doing anything against this AC and ST people, or untouchability things, there is no, there is a stringent law is against them, that is this is non-compatible and non-cognizable, non-compromisable, not take back, that is the thing. This law is a very strict law, and protection of civil rights is now in the 1977 Untouchability Abolition Act was now, it is a protection of civil rights. There are some fast track court to take care of these cases and give some immediate or quick justice to the people who they are you can say affected by this untouchability. So this particular act is a absolute act that you have to understand. So there is no proper definition for this what is untouchability, because when the constitution was made, Dr. Ambedkar clearly told, if I define something, this is what untouchability means, the people will do other things against these people, so I will not define what is untouchability. It will change time to time, but the underdeveloped people, these people has to develop. So this particular act or article is really an important article. This is absolute article. Next, abolition of titles. What is abolition of titles? In British time there are so many titles. Some people in the community, they enjoyed it, that is Diwan, Rao Bahadur, then Sir. These are some titles which give some specific advantages to the people, so they enjoyed some things. So first after the independence, the people thought that this kind of titles is just came to them, they have not really worked for the titles. So if you do anything in favor of British people, means they will give this title and you can enjoy those some features. So this is what happened in those days. So after independence, the people thought that these titles should be abolished, so the titles abolition is take place. But apart from the, there are titles, something in military, academic excellence, something like military captain, lieutenant, then major, then in academic institutions doctor, professors, These are some titles: registrar, dean. These are some titles. These are came from academic excellence or military. Apart from that, there are some titles the government of India is giving, that is Bharat Ratna, Padma Vibhushan, Padma Shri. These titles also give some benefits to the holder, but according to the constitution, these titles should not be used prefix or a suffix of the person's name. This is what the condition. Still people are using like Padma Shri, Kavalakashan, but it is not giving such what benefits to them, so we can leave it. Otherwise, according to the law, these titles like Padma Shri or Padma Vibhushan, Bharat Ratna cannot be or should not be used before and after their name. Next, right to freedom, Article 19 to 22. So right to freedom, first one is that freedom of speech and expression, Article 19. So they can freedom to speech and expression, then freedom of assembly, freedom of association, freedom of movement, freedom of settlement. There was another right also, that is free to buy any property. That was now removed from this. Free to buy any property, that was removed again, because as I told you, if this was in the fundamental rights, the government cannot take their property from the people, so that was removed. That is Article 19 had this, that is free to buy property, so that was removed. So the freedom of speech and expression, freedom to assemble peacefully without arms, freedom to form association and unions, freedom to move freely throughout the territory, freedom to settle or reside any part of the territory of India, freedom to practice any profession, carry out any occupation, trade or business. So these all comes under article number 19. Next, protection in respect of conviction of offence, article 20. So next, the protection, that is the law is protecting an individual or its citizens against no ex post facto law, no double jeopardy, no self incrimination. What is these things? First one is that no ex post facto, that is if the person is arrested for some criminal offense, we cannot use the, suppose he is arrested in 2017, you cannot use the law which is passed after this. That is, if in this particular time what was the law against this criminal activity, that law can be only used against him. You cannot pass the law after 2017, that is 2017 before February, and you can predate this law, that is this, you cannot just predate, that is 2016 itself this law was created, something like that. You cannot do like this, and we cannot put him in a that particular case. So we cannot under this protection in respect of conviction of offense, no ex post facto law. But in the case of civil matters, you can use the law which is what you can say, we can create a law, this create any law in this time, and you can prepone the date, that is this law will be effective from 2016 itself, even though the law was created now, but you can prepone the date, that is this law will be effective from 2016, like that. So the person is did some mistake in this particular time, in the case, civil case, they have to obey that particular law. But in the criminal cases you cannot ex post facto any law. Next, no double jeopardy, that is a person cannot be punished for 2 times. for the same mistake. That is what double jeopardy. Next, no self incrimination. That is, you cannot use himself, his own witness for against him. You cannot use his own witness against him. That is like narco test, brain mapping. These are all things which is wrong in the point of Supreme Court. You cannot make himself as witness for himself. That is, this is what self incrimination. No self incrimination. That is what this law gives as a fundamental rights. It's a protection of a conviction of an offense. Okay, so it is a fundamental right. So these are the things: no ex post facto law, no double jeopardy, no self incrimination. Next one is that protection of life and personal liberty. So any person can live freely and live their life happy like a human being life, not like animal life. What is human being life? A dignified life, clean environment, pollution free water, speed justice, fair trial, right to food, right against bonded labor, privacy, employment. These are things has to be ensured by the government. Okay. Next, right to education. As I told you, it was an amendment act. Right to education. This is put in 21A. The state has to provide free and compulsory education to all the children in the age of 6 to 14. Okay, it is the responsibility of the state. This was amendmented 86th constitutional amendment. Next, protection against arrest and detention against certain cases, article 22. So what is arrest? There are two types of arrest. One is curative arrest, then next one is preventive. So curative arrest means some mistake was done, so the person was going to be arrested, there will be a trial, after that there will be a conviction. Next one is that preventive, before the crime occurs there will be some arrest. So this is for preventive arrest. Whatever the ground, whether it is curative or preventive, the person arrested has to be put into local magistrate within 24 hours. The magistrate will decide whether the police can take him under police custody for the enquiry or not. The police cannot take him to the station and they cannot enquire him or torture him for the particular crime. So within 24 hours, excluding the traveling time, he has to put in front of magistrate, local magistrate. He will decide how many days the police can take him as a custody and enquire him. So whatever the case, the police can maximum go up to 3 months. 3 months they can take him under their custody for the enquiry purpose. If they want to go before that, only the parliament has the power to extend the case. Okay. Next, right against exploitation. So generally the women and children are exploited more in this Indian community or all over the world. So this is the right against, mainly against the that is the women and children. They are trafficking, human trafficking. That is, this is dealt in the article 23. This prohibition of traffic in human being, forced labor. Generally the children will be trafficked, even in the teenage they will be put into that prostitution. The women are trafficked from one place to another place, or from one country to another country for the prostitution or forced labor, or as a slaves they will be used in other countries. So this law is against that. That is, this is a kind of fundamental right. So this is protect the people, that is the vulnerable people of the society, that is women and children's. Next, prohibition of child labor. This is an important one. The children below 14 years will not be allowed to work in factories, mines, or other dangerous places. Previously, now they cannot work anywhere nowadays. Previously, it was like they cannot work in dangerous places. This will affect the health. Nowadays, the children cannot work in any places if they are under 14. This is a recent amendment. Even they cannot work in the family enterprises. Next, right to religious freedom. Right to religious freedom. So first, Article 25. A person is free to concise any religion, profess any religion, practice any religion, and propagate his thoughts to anyone about any religion. This is what dealt in 25, Article 25. So he can concise, profess, practice, propagate any religion, but without affecting the public order, morality, health, and other provisions of Constitution. Next, Article 26. Freedom to manage religious affairs. It's freedom to manage religious. They can establish and maintain religious institutions, trust, something like that. They can administrate. They can acquire a property in the name of the religion. Next, freedom not to pay tax for promotion of any particular religion. So in a place there is a temple, Hindu temple, they want to conduct a function, or they want to some development or improvement in the temple. They cannot collect tax from the people in that area, but they can collect fees. Somebody is enter into the temple, they can collect some fees for the development, but they cannot collect taxes from the people living in the particular area. But still in villages the people are doing it in like some functions. They are going to conduct yearly functions. They will collect the tax from all the people in the particular religion. They will collect, but generally according to the Constitution, the people need not to pay any tax to the promotion of any particular religion. That is the thing. Okay. Next, no religious instruction in government education institutions. If it is a government institution, means there should not be any religious instructions. In private education, religious instruction not against the will. That is, in a private education, they can go for any religious institution. That is like Adi Parakshiti Koil in Chennai, or you can say Karunya, or Amrita Institute. They are some religious based institutions. So there you can go for religious education, but not against the will of the students. Without the consent of the student, you cannot go for any religious institution education. This is dealt in 28 itself. But you can say generally I'm going to categorize three things in this religious education. If the education institution is completely maintained by the state, means there is no religious education, right? But it is completely maintained by the private, then there will be a religious education, or a trust or religious institution is maintaining the particular college or school, means there will be a religious education without the will or consent of the student. But if it is aided by the government or controlled by the government, it is aided by the control or controlled by the government, means there can be, but it is run by the trust or religious institution. It is aided by the government or controlled by the, but still it is run by the trust or religious institution. There will be a religious education, but with the consent of the students, there will be a religious education. This is the thing. Three categories. One, completely owned by the state. No, there is no religious. Completely owned by the trust. Yes, without the consent of the students. it is aided by the state but run by the religious institution, means there can be a religious education but with the consent of the students. Next, cultural and educational rights. So first one is cultural, that is what the 29, protection against interest of minorities. Each and every minorities will have their own culture, their own traditions. So this law is, this article is really protects that minorities rights, right to preserve their language, like what you can say, minority people, Sikh people, then Parsi people, Buddhist people, Jain people. These people will have, they are mainly minorities. Muslim and Christian they will have, but they are larger amount. Apart from these Muslim, Christian, there are still minor people, Buddhist, Jain, Parsi, Sikh. They have their own culture, language, script. So they have the right to preserve that. Still, if they are running some institution, education institution, the admission should not be there will not be any discrimination in the admission of this their education institution, that is based on the race, religion, caste, language. There should not be any discrimination. Even though it is run by the minority people, all the students, all the people, all the community people can be admitted in the particular education institution. They should not discriminate anyone based on the race, religion, caste and language. Okay, so how they can, if they want to avoid someone, means they can avoid only through the proper entrance test, or you can say proper level of selection process. That way only they can reject someone, but they cannot reject based on the race, religion, caste and language. So these minority institutions, that is the thing. Then Article 30. So minorities will have the right to establish and administer education institution. This is what the Article 30 is, to establish educational institutions. Next, the list of minorities. Who are minorities nowadays in India? Who is comes under minorities? Muslim, Sikh, Buddhist, Jain, Christians and Parsis. Jain was a recent addition into the list, that is list of minorities. Next we will see right to constitutional remedies. So here the Article 32, as I told you earlier, the Article 32 is the soul of the Constitution, according to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, because if the individual, the citizen of India could not able to get the fundamental rights, they can go to the highest court, that is Supreme Court, and in the state wise the High Court. So they can apply to get their fundamental rights in the form of 5 writ petitions. The 5 writ petitions are habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, certiorari and quo warranto. What is habeas corpus? Habeas corpus means bring the body. That means if the person was arrested by the police and they are saying that we are not arrested, that is we have arrested but we released him illegally, they are holding the person, means the person's relative, they can go to the court to apply for bring the body. That is so if this particular writ petition was filed in the High Court or in the Supreme Court, the police must bring the person in front of the court. That is what habeas corpus, that is bring the body. Mandamus, that is command, that is it is applies for only for the government officials. So any citizen of India, they can apply this writ petition, they can file the writ petition against any government officials. Government officials, if they are not doing their job, so the individuals can apply for this particular writ petition to get the fundamental right. Because of the official not doing the job, the individual not getting the fundamental right means they can apply this mandamus writ petition to get the basic fundamental rights. Third one is prohibition. So this is generally the higher court will prohibit the lower court, or it will say that you are working beyond your limits. Just be within your limits. For example, the Supreme Court control the High Court, or you can quasi judicial and some tribunals. They are some judicial authorities. They are comes under Supreme Court. So like the same way, High Court also can involve in these things. So the higher court will, you can say, because this petition we can, what you can say, you can file in High Court or in Supreme Court. So only these two courts have the authority to, what you can say, forbid the lower courts. That is, they are working beyond their limit. They are the decisions, or you can say judgments, not up to them. They should not give this kind of decisions. Like that, the higher court can forbid the lower courts. Not only just judicial, this is quasi judicial tribunals. This all comes under this. Next, certiorari. Suppose the lower courts issued some judgments, because of that individual has been affected, so he can go to the higher court, to the higher court, that is Supreme Court, to review the decision. That is, what is the solution for the wrong judgment given by the lower courts. So the Supreme Court will review the decision and it will give the proper solution for the applicant, that is the person filed the writ petition. That is certiorari. Last one is the quo warranto. It is, we can apply or you can file against any individual by any individual. That is, any individual in the sense government officials. You can file any, in the previous 4 writ petition, only the person affected by the fundamental rights. That is, you can say, if the person's relatives, or personally if you are affected by the government officials, or if you are personally affected by the court judgment, they can only file. But this quo warranto against any government official, any citizen of India can apply or file. That means how the government official came to that position. For example, any IAS officer or IPS officer, any what you can say, executive people in the government, top government official, or any lower level government officials, how they came to that particular position, whether they came purely based on their merit or some illegal means they came to the position. This is the important thing. So how you came to the position. So this is the thing asked by the any individual. So the Supreme Court will deal with these things. So these are the 5 can say tools or weapons that individual or citizens having to get their fundamental rights through Supreme Court or you can say High Court. If you are going to apply this writ petitions means, for the High Court there is article number 226. Not only this fundamental rights, you can go for any legal rights also, you can go for this, but for the fundamental rights, if you are going to apply means the Supreme Court you have to go. That is article 32. Article 32 is enough. You can file these petitions. Only for the fundamental rights means you have to go to the Supreme Court. But other than fundamental rights and also these writ petitions means you can go for High Court. That is article 226 helps that. So next is the remaining 3 articles, that is 33, 34, 35. So 33 is mainly for the military, paramilitary, armed forces, police department. They cannot demand any fundamental rights. That is the thing, because they are going to maintain the law and order means they should not expect any fundamental rights, and they cannot go to the court also for demanding the fundamental rights, and also they cannot form any association something for their rights. So because they are going to maintain the public order, so they cannot you can say have the fundamental rights, so they have to obey the government order. That is the thing. So against the government they cannot do anything, but the normal citizen they can do anything, or you can say they can file the case against the government. That is the thing you have to understand. The normal citizen, ordinary citizen, they can file the case against the government, but this police, armed forces, they cannot, or paramilitary forces, they cannot file anything against the government. And but they have some tribunals. Through the tribunals they can achieve those rights. That is a different thing, but they cannot go to the Supreme Court or High Court to demanding the fundamental rights of them, or they cannot form any association. That is what Article 33 deals with it. Next, Article 34, when there is in a particular area martial law is in force, so all the fundamental rights will be suspended in that particular area. That is what Article 34, when there is a martial law, all the fundamental rights will be suspended. Then the Article 33, the government or parliament, that is state, has to make the law that should not affect the basic structure of the fundamental rights. That is the important thing. That is what written in this Article 35. The government, that is state or central, they have to go for any amendments or anything else that should not affect the basic structure of the fundamental rights. These are the fundamental rights part, that is 12 to 35. Now we will have some evaluation about the fundamental rights. So what are the different evaluations? Generally, if you see that no rights outside the constitution. So if you want to achieve anything within the constitution, you can demand that there is no extra rights out of the constitution. And even though we are saying these are fundamental rights, they can go to the court, but there are too many limitations. There are too many limitations which you cannot just like that, you cannot get all the fundamental rights. There are hidden limitations, something like conditions apply, except 17, you can say, that is protection against untouchability. That is the only absolute right. Okay, apart from that, we don't have any absolute right. So there are limitations. All the rights have some limitations. Then preventive detention and fundamental rights. So this is helps, it's a part of the fundamental rights. Then rights can be suspended during, we know that that is during the national emergency, that you know that during Indira Gandhi period, those times the fundamental rights are suspended. But even though that time also some rights will not be suspended. That is the thing. So Article 19 will be suspended, but other rights, something like Article 14 to 32, when some rights are during the national emergency, and you can say some armed rebellion inside the country, some rights will be suspended. But any one of the right was live, then Article 32 automatically live. That is the important thing you have to understand. If there is one fundamental right was live, definitely Article 32 is live. That is the important thing. So then this is important thing, the absence of economic rights. We are talking about so many things, equality, the religion, caste, everything, but the India having the major difference in the economic basis. So there is no assurance given for the economic rights. That is the problem of our fundamental rights. And vague and complex languages are, that is not easily understandable by the common people. So fundamental rights, and supremacy of the parliament over fundamental rights. So parliament have the rights to amend the fundamental rights. That is the problem. So there is a supremacy of the parliament over the fundamental rights. Special concessions for minority, backward classes are against the principle of equality, as we discussed this already. So we have the community based reservations, caste based reservations. So it is something like condition applied. That is the thing. Next, importance of human rights. So what is the importance of human rights? It's a foundation for democracy. Any democratic country will have that fundamental rights. It's not like monarchy. If there is a monarchy, means they can deny the fundamental. But in a democratic country lives based on the fundamental rights. If there is no fundamental rights, there is no democracy in the country. That is the thing. So it is a check on the arbitrariness of the government. The government cannot take anything, that is take any, what you can say, decision as like that, just like that. That is they cannot just take any, or they just take any amendments, or just they cannot treat the people like anything. So it is check on the arbitrariness. That is, it's some kind of restriction for the government. It's for the benefit of the people, right? It stops the monarchy. The government cannot behave like a monarchy, because they are selected by the people, so they have to do in favor of the people only. So it's check on the arbitrariness of the government, then create proper conditions for the development of people. So this is important thing. It creates proper conditions for the development of people, then foundation of the rule of law, then it ensures or establishment. It is a secular state, because we have so many fundamentals for the religion based rights we have. They can they have some advantages. So it's established secular state, then protection of interest of the minorities. As I told you, religion based, mean next one is the minority. It's to protect the interest of the minorities. Then reconciliation between the individual interest and social interest. So there should be individual interest, that is from the fundamental rights, the individual interest are say taken care, as well as it has to be taken care of the social interest. So these are all about fundamental rights. Thanks for watching this video. Happy learning. Thank you.